Nice.
Good afternoon, Boston buddies. Welcome to brunch with the Boston buddies. You know, I keep hearing that as I replay these, and I got to come up with something new. I say Boston buddies too much, but anyhow, welcome everybody. We have one of our members, longtime members, who has become such an inspiration for so many of us on the page, especially during these days. He is our poet laureate, Mr. Toni Garcia. Welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Vince. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. You know what? Things are looking up. You know, every day you're getting a little better.
Every day, a little patience, and we take a step forward. So,
Right.
yeah.
So, how are you doing out there? You're in Colorado, is that correct?
I'm in Colorado, yeah, and beautiful springtime right now. It's a beautiful day. I already got the miles in this morning, which was good. So,
Nice.
Things are different. Like for most people around the country, things are different, but trying to stay positive and as my son says, use this as an opportunity to level up and look at areas of my existence and being where I can improve and grow despite what's going on around us. So yeah. Things are different, but like I said, using it as an opportunity to self-assess and see where things are and make improvements.
Yeah, we have no control over what happens around us. We can control how we react to it. You know, everybody has trying times. I'll take these trying times compared to many of the other times that happened in this world, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. Like you said, we all go through different things and different trials throughout our time, and hopefully we move through this one and that everyone comes out on the other side and we move forward from this. So, yeah.
So, but I ran in Colorado last year, actually. I did one of the Revel races in just outside of Denver. And I thought Colorado was just absolutely gorgeous state to just run in. Like the scenery is beautiful. The western side of the United States is just absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, without a doubt. I don't want to cast shade on any other part of the country, but it's beautiful out here. And if you ran the Revel of the Rockies, what a gorgeous course. That was the first course I ran a Boston qualifier at, and that's just
nice.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful area, and I spend a lot of my summers in my truck exploring the Western United States, and there are places that sometimes I don't believe it's planet Earth. It's just amazingly gorgeous, and so you're right. The western half of this country, like I said, I haven't had a chance to explore much back east, Boston a lot, but the western part of the United States, and I'm pretty partial to Colorado. I can't wait till some of the parks reopen and I can go hiking with my daughter and get outside and see this great state again. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, you should have let me know. I didn't know you ran out here.
Yeah, next time, definitely.
Yeah, it's a deal.
So, how about what we always ask people is their intro video and what made them start running? What's your backstory about running? Were you a high school runner, a college runner, or did you start later in life?
Man, Vince, I started later in life. I had allowed work and all my other obligations to become the largest part of my life, and I was pushing 40 and pushing 30 pounds too many, and a lot of late nights of coaching, and fast food was either on the way to coach or on the way home from coaching, because I was getting home so late that I didn't expect anybody to have dinner waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that, man, something had to give. And so I tell people that just want to know my story. The first time I decided I'm going to go running, I had a pair of tennis shoes, and I don't mean running shoes. They were some old Converse things that weren't meant for running. I had a pair of sweats that were an old cotton thing and a t-shirt and a watch. And I said, okay, 15 minutes, go out, get a run in, just start there, start something. I ran without looking at my watch, and I thought, oh man, I gotta be getting close to that 15 minutes. And I looked down and I had been out for 7 minutes, and I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. And I turned around and walked whatever distance I had to walk home. It was the longest walk of shame I'd ever taken. And so I started from there. I started from scratch, basically. And and started building up every day over that summer that I would commit to running a little longer.
Yep.
Till I started working up to 3 miles a day, and that became my thing. I was running 3 miles a day, and that was it. And so running half marathons and marathons was never the idea. It was the goal. And so like very humble beginnings that I don't forget, that I hang on to when folks want to know about what it is to start and to run and to struggle to run. You do the work, and it's a process, and it'll come along. So that's where I began. And then probably, I don't know, 3 to 5 years later, I wanted something different. And I saw this article in a Men's Health magazine that said, hey, how about you do something different this year and run a half marathon? And I was like, okay, why not? And so I trained for it. It had a 12-week training program right in the middle of the magazine. And I trained for my first half, and I fell in love with it. I got done with it, and I was just hooked. And so that was about 15 years ago. And the rest is
history.
Yeah.
And you've run Boston last, what, 5 years? 15
Yes.
to 19?
Yes, 15 to 19. 15 was the very first year. I was moved to try and qualify after the events of 2013. I had a friend who ran it, and shortly after she crossed the finish line and was walking back to her hotel, she called me, and we were talking about it. And then chaos broke loose, and I followed the events like everybody else did. And something told me that had never been a dream or a goal of mine to run. In fact, running marathons wasn't my thing. I had run 3 at that point. I was like, 3 was good. And just following my friend's journey and following the events, I just was, there was something about it that said, you have to try and qualify. So I spent the next 2 years, next year and a half, trying to get ready to run a qualifying race. And so 2015 to 2020, will be 6 years, 6 consecutive years. And I have a goal like you to get 10 consecutive years. So I never thought that was the goal, but now it is the goal to get 10 consecutive years. So
there's a little bit of a prize, once you get those 10 in a row.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a prize. Yeah. So, and I didn't know that until I had started following you. So thank you for that information, because I didn't realize the prize at the end of those 10 years. So that is something definitely worth shooting for, in case folks don't know.
So what did you do when you decided to that you wanted to qualify? What did you hire a coach or follow a specific plan, or how did you increase your time?
Well, it's funny because I had my son was a CrossFit coach, and then eventually he got his own gym, and I would take his workouts that he was planning for all of his members, and I would modify them to be able to something I would do. And then I would go to my local gym and I would do those things. And a trainer at the gym came up to me, and she started talking to me. She struck up a conversation with me, and she was just like, yeah, we call you the CrossFit dude. And so they had given me the gym that I didn't even know. And so she took me under her wing, and she started training me. And I ran the Colfax Marathon and ran a qualifying time that wasn't going to hold up. I was like 29 seconds or 39 seconds underneath what I needed to run. And so then I went and tried to run another race and qualify, and I got lost on the course. I hit the wall at like mile 17. I ran an extra 1.2 miles or something. And I came home pretty defeated, going, I'm not going to be able to get to Boston. And so then my son, he was just like, Dad, I've been trying to throw subtle hits at you. Let me train you. And he's just like, I've just let you do your thing. And he said, I want to train you. And I said, Brian, I said, your dad is not a CrossFitter. Your dad is a runner. I don't jump on things. I don't climb things.
And tires around.
Exactly. And so he said, Dad, I don't want to make you a CrossFitter. I want to make you a better runner. Mm-hmm. He goes, I'd like 3 weeks, but the Revel race was 6 weeks after that race where I had completely fallen apart. And he goes, I'll take 6 weeks and we'll get you there. And for the next 6 weeks, it was torture. I thought I had worked hard in my workouts previous to that, and I thought hey, I'm in pretty good shape, but
Right.
he he gave me a whole new level of discipline and work structure, and then when I successfully ran it, then I've just for the past 5 years now, I've become embedded in the CrossFit world. And so it has become something that I love. And now he doesn't hold anything back. I have to climb things. I have to throw those tires around. I have to drag the tires through the neighborhood.
Nice.
But it's been, the best part of it is it's helped me as a runner. But what it's really helped me do is to recover better from running. And so not only am I stronger going into runs, but I recover a lot better. And for a guy that's getting up in years, that recovery piece is really important.
Yeah.
It's probably the way it's helped me the most. Plus mentally, just how I've become mentally a stronger athlete. Some hard lessons he's taught me in the gym about my attitude and to go another rep or another set. So it's been a good, and the relationship that we have in the gym as partners, it's a team effort, definitely. So that's why my Boston medals are given to him every year, and why they hang in his gym is because I know where I came from and I know who's gotten me there. So it's not lost on me that
Right.
I don't think I get to Boston 5 years or 6 years in a row. So
that's the reverse of most stories. You know, it's you're the dad, and and that's a great way to bond with your son. You know, that's really nice to see. You know, to be able to have that relationship with your son, especially like it's a close relationship, coach to athlete as well. That's something special.
Yeah, there's so many facets to that relationship. Sometimes I have to remind him I am still the dad. So sometimes he throws some things out of me, and we go, we ain't there yet. We're not there yet.
Nice.
But it's very much a team effort, and very much he loves to describe some of the workouts as difficult but doable. As he plans it, so he pushes that envelope of. I just look at him like, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. But that's that mental thing and fighting through that. And so we've had some critical conversations about my attitude and his ability to talk to his father like he's the father. So yes, but it's all good. It's a very quiet, but a very strong relationship. So there's not many words spoken, but we get each other. So
yeah. I know the mental side of that. I used to do that P90X, the strength training, and one of the things that the guy Toni Horton would say is, you don't say I can't. You can't say I can't do it. It's I currently struggle with. It changes things when you say I currently struggle with this.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And one time he gave me a workout and said, I just looked at him and said, I can't do that. And he said, "Not with that attitude." And I was like, "No, I can't." And so it was one of those where we butted heads a little bit. And now I look at the workouts he hands me, and sometimes we do this mashup on Fridays where I don't know I know the first part of the workout, and he just drops the whiteboard and I see what's coming, and I just have to mentally figure out how am I going to do that now. And then he'll drop another whiteboard, and it's always a surprise. I don't know what's coming. And so I equate that to races. You never know the situation. You never know what conditions you're going to be under. And so you have to adapt, and you have to be able to find that mental strength. And so we play different, he does different things. Like he'll just throw something at me and go, "Don't let this one beat you," And so I like that. I can't, it's just, I'm struggling to handle this right now. I like the,
I currently struggle with, yes.
I currently struggle with. I'm gonna have to write that one down, Vince. Thanks for that.
That's not me, it's Toni Horton.
Okay. I'll give Toni credit then. All right.
We've got
maybe I'll do a post about that. What's that?
A lot of comments coming in. I'm noticing it's mostly women that are watching you right now.
Someone commented about that I have a few women followers that outnumber the men followers. I don't know.
Well, we've got Tamara Faith. She sent you a yellow heart, a blue heart, and a unicorn. I don't know what that
Yeah.
means, but
Well, she was so wonderful. Tamara was a volunteer at the end of the New York City Marathon, and I ran into her when I finished, and she was so helpful, and I absolutely adore her, and she's so great, and I can't wait till to line up at Boston with her and any other marathon. It was fabulous, and I thank anybody who goes out there and volunteers during these races. But it was so nice to, one, see a friendly face, and two, she was just like, "What can I do for you? How can I help you?" And she was absolutely fabulous. So there's so many great people in this group that you've put together. Like I said, I'm honored to be a part of this group, and like I said, I'm just so thankful that of their response to my writing in my posts when I put them in the group. So yeah, there's a lot of great people in there. Well, I don't know how you see the comments. So like I said, I'm so new to
I've got
technology.
two
It's been
computers here.
okay.
Look away. I'm not always looking. I'm looking at the other computer to
That's all
collect the
right.
comments.
That's all right.
Going back to Tamara though, she really is pretty incredible. She actually, in the Philly marathon, she came down as a surprise, and she did the same thing. She was volunteering at the end of the marathon to surprise one of her best friends, Marilyn, who's also on the page.
Yeah, Marilyn's awesome.
Yeah, she was running the Philly marathon, and Tamara came down as a surprise, volunteered, and she was handing out the medals at the end of the race.
Right.
And just by happenstance, she actually saw Emily Morley when she came across the line. And this was, I don't know if you knew, but it was a bad weather day. It was cold and rainy in Philly.
Yeah.
And Emily ended up, suffering from like a bit of hypothermia, and she crossed the finish line. Tamara actually called her over, and they didn't know each other. Tamara knew her. She's like, "You don't know me, but I want to be the one to give you this medal." So she walked on over to her, and she was so exhausted and so beat up. She bent down to get the medal, and then she collapsed. And Tamara caught her before she hit the ground. She was out. She was out cold. And Tamara, she was the one that caught her, laid her down, and like got the medical attention, and got her the attention that she needed, and brought her to the medical tent and stuff. And really helped her, saved her that day. And she never met her. She just knew her from the page, And then she didn't know me, but she started calling me on Messenger and calling Marty Clark because she knew we were around, to try and let us know what happened, to try and get us to that Emily had somebody there to help her in the tent. So she like did all this stuff, for us and for Emily, and it was just like she came and followed up with us and was making sure everybody was okay. And we never met her before, but she's just a great soul, really nice person.
I agree. I had never met her, and she just reached out to me, and she was like, "I was looking for you and hoping that I would find you in all these masses." And I was freezing after New York. I could not. I had to visit the medical tent myself. I could not get warm. I was shaking, and she was like, "Next time, I'm going to have a blanket or a jacket or something for you." She was just so great, and I think that's, like I said, part of this Boston Buddies group. Part of the reason I enjoy it so much is just the community you built, and people start to know each other and see those kind of things, and the names you mentioned, just fabulous folks, and the things you're doing with the 5K challenge, and just to keep people motivated and inspired. Your book, obviously, just so many great things. So I thank you, and I'm sure I'm sure people tell you, but if they don't, you're doing a great job, Vince. And so I'm truly grateful. And like I said, there's just so many wonderful people I've met through this group that inspire me. A lot of people say, "You're an inspiration." I go, "No, I'm just surrounded by people who inspire me, and I just draw on that energy." And so you've done a lot of good in that regard. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, like I've said that many others, it's the people in the group that make the group. It's not myself. It's people like yourself, like the writings that you have. So for people that haven't heard, Toni is an author. He's got a few books out there that you can get on Amazon. One of them is this one right here. See that? Whispers from My Heart. Toni Garcia, Learning to Quiet the Noise. Great book. It essentially has like an entry per day, just inspirational quotes. And especially during this time, you know, people really need something to kind of get their hopes up, or maybe level set or change their perspective on things. You know, it's you know, you can pick it up. It's almost like a you know, not a horoscope, but something you pick up every day. And you read one, it's one page, and it has like it's a not a poem, but it's just an excerpt of some wise words. So I really appreciate this. I really love like picking it up, and like I'll just find myself like going back if I missed a couple days reading some of the passages and stuff and being like, oh yeah, you know what, maybe I gotta change my perspective on some of these things, or it settles. It's almost like yoga. It settles me a little bit, where it's like it brings me back to earth with all the other stuff going on. It's like there's a lot of problems, but like when it comes down to it, when you've got your health and you've got your family, you know, that's really all that matters. And this helps me stay grounded. So I really appreciate what you've done here. So what inspired you to write? You've got 2 books, right? That got published. You've got a third on the way. What first inspired you to do this? Because this is amazing work that you do here.
Well, first, thanks, Vince. I appreciate the positive comments about my writing. Well, the funny thing was I've always enjoyed writing, but when I was going back to school to become a teacher, I decided I was working to become a physical education teacher, but I thought, well, make yourself more marketable, get a minor, get something that you can, if you don't have that PE, you can do something else. And so I was like, well, you like writing, maybe you can become an English teacher. So I started working towards an English minor, and I took a class, and the professor just trashed my writing. He just like, what is this? And I was just like, oh, I thought I could write. And so I I just stopped writing, and I thought I could write. And so I put it away and I stopped writing, and just thought, okay, he's a professional. He knows best. This is what he does. You know, he critiques people's writing, and he knows all the rules about writing. And so I stopped writing. I mean, I didn't write another word. And I was just like,
oh, wow.
Skip that. But then as I started to try to qualify for Boston, you know, I have a page, my own Facebook page called G-Force, and it used to be just workouts, just what I was doing. Here's a workout a day, but I didn't feel like it was separating itself, because you can go anywhere and find people who are actually qualified to tell you what workouts to do. And so so then I just started dabbling in little poems and little shout outs to different people using, you know, Dr. Seuss kind of rhyming things. And so then I joined another group, and I gotta give credit to Adam Boucher and Tim Catalano, 2 of my friends, and Adam, you know, former Olympian.
Yeah.
And,
Sarah's wife, right? Yeah.
Kara, gotcha. Yeah. So,
yeah.
My running idols.
Yeah.
And they started a page, and it was the challenge of the group was to run that amount of miles in that year. So in 2015, the goal was to run 2,015 miles, and that's about 5.5 miles a day. And so I joined that challenge, and I thought it was going to be something very inspirational to be a part of that group. But people started infighting, and what counts as miles, and can you run them? Can you walk them? Intentional? Can you bike? Can you? And so I just wrote a simple little thing, and I was like, want to know a secret? It all counts. It all counts. If you're doing something healthy for yourself, it all counts. And for whatever reason, people just took to that. And so every day I started writing these little things that I called secrets. That weren't really secrets. They're common sense every day. We all know. We just have to be reminded. We have to be grounded.
Yep.
And so I started writing these 1 things a day. And people started going, you ought to write a book. And I'm like, I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. My composition teacher told me I'm not a writer. And so I just started every day. I would just post something daily and just go, hey, want to know a secret? And finally, after I'd run Boston, and I just had more things to write about that experience and how it changed me, and the leading up to it, and joining CrossFit and working with my son and that mental, I just started writing different pieces. And a little boy, his name was Benjamin. He has autism, and he was 14 years old at the time. And he was following me and reading. His mom would read my daily post to him. And after about a year of me going, want to know a secret, want to know a secret, he said, Mom, why does Mr. Tony call them secrets? A secret is something you don't want people to know. He doesn't tell secrets, he tells truths. And in that moment, I changed what I say. Instead of want to know a secret to want to know a truth. And then just all the encouragement from just so many friends and so many people that I had never even met, that Tony ought to write a book. So I put all those posts into what was the first book, Want to Know a Truth. And then a year later, I had gathered enough material and I felt I was a better writer. I felt like now I was more willing to expand my, because in Whispers, there's a lot of different types of writing. There's letters and there's pep talks and there's acts. And so then book 2 was born, and now I have this third one that's, I think, even my, if I can say so, I think it's my best work yet, because it really is a real, I've come so far in these past 5 years, and this book reflects that growth as a writer, as a person, as a runner, as a dad, as an educator. So that's how it all started, simply by going, you want to know a secret?
Nice.
Later. So
did you ever sign and send a copy to your former teacher?
No, I didn't. I did. But the funny thing, Vince, is, it's I had talked to a couple people and when I had, things like that and failures in my life where someone said you aren't good enough, or I had a mentor in my life and I shared a story where someone told me you're just not good enough. And I hung on to that. And like this composition teacher, I hung on to, you're just not a writer. And she just looked at me after I had explained this situation and she said, did it ever occur to you that they might be wrong? And no, because they're the expert, or they're the so-called. And it had never occurred to me that he could be wrong, that this other person who said, you're not going to amount to much, I let that somehow carry this weight. And when she said that, it was like this flood opened up and I was just like, oh my God, you just opened a gate to something I didn't think that. I didn't think they could be wrong. And so it was a lesson. And I wrote a piece in one of the books about that night and that moment where she said that to me. And but we do that. We allow other people's comments, other people's expectations, or other people's filters to somehow weigh us down because we hold on to it like it's the truth. And so that's another area of growth for myself where I just go, yeah, it's okay for you to be wrong about me. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll track him down and say, hey.
Yeah, I think that for runners, especially marathon runners, a lot of people are always thinking we're crazy, or why would you do that, or you can't do that, and the body's not meant to do that. Right. And we need to just have this mentality of you guys are wrong. You know what? We know what's best for ourselves. We can do it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure a way. And that I will go back to that because I currently struggle with. It's not, I can't. Everybody could just say I currently struggle with. It makes a big difference. It's different outlook on life.
Yeah, it really is. And to know too, to be aware of your strengths and your weaknesses. That's another thing where there's a thing in CrossFit called double unders, and it's where you pass the rope twice under your feet. You hit the ground, and I could not for the life of me do double unders. It was just and I would complain whenever they were in a workout or something like that, and I would get frustrated that I couldn't do them, and then it was a different approach. It was a different mental switch for me to go, you have no business complaining or being upset because you do nothing to try and improve. You just show up every day and there's double unders. You go, I can't do these. And then you struggle and beat yourself up with the rope. And so I went in the gym and I was like, you have to focus on these things. And so that's probably the thing I do with my running now to try and improve is I look at where can I level up in my running? And, I failed to run a BQ one year at the Marine Corps marathon. I came back just beat up, and I talked to my son and said, where at some point, at some point you get over the hill and you start to decline. Your dad is not going to be continue to get faster and faster. And he said, I don't think you're there yet, Dad. He said, but what you might have to do is look at your entire approach to what you're doing. He said, to be honest with you, you get by a lot because of just how stubborn you are. You're going to do this. You're going to run through that wall. And he said, maybe you need to look at your overall approach to what you're doing. And so that was a good look at what am I doing and how do I take better care of myself. And so I changed plans from a 12-week plan to a 20-week plan. I changed my approach in the gym with him. I changed my eating habits, my sleeping habits. I looked at all those facets that was going to help me and quieting the noise of what other people were saying and doing. Because sometimes I think some of that noise is because we're so busy looking around at what everybody else is doing that we lose perspective on what is best for us because of hearing all that other noise that's out there about what everybody else is doing. So that's
so true.
Fighting that noise comes from. So.
That's so true. So I want to say this is a rare opportunity where you can actually talk to an author and read a passage, and then I can get your thoughts about where this came from. So today's May 19th. So May 19th's entry is, let's see, it says, when comes the darkness, light a flame, for it shall illuminate the darkness. When comes the darkness, become a lighthouse, for it shall lead many out of the darkness. When comes the darkness, look towards the sun, for it scatters the darkness. When comes the darkness, share your light, for it conquers the darkness. When comes the darkness, remember the light, and darkness can never vanquish it.
I think that's true.
Wise words. It's almost as if you saw this day coming years ago.
The funny thing is I'm going back and sharing some of the that's one thing about my book that I think some of my friends tell me is that when they pick it up and they look at the different passages the way you do, they just pick it up randomly, and sometimes they'll read the passage from today, sometimes they'll just open to a date that's important in their life, and every time they read it, it seems different to them. And so I've been looking at pieces that I've written in the past 5 years that seem appropriate for now. And I think we all go through periods of darkness in our life, and whether they're real or imagined, whether they're something that lasts for a long time versus just a short period. That piece came from I've been in dark places in my life, and whether it was mile 23 of a race, whether it was the end of a relationship, whether it was being fired from a job, we all have those places that just they feel dark. And so what are some options that you have? And so I just thought about that. There are options you have when you're going through those struggles. One of them is to be a lighthouse yourself, and the others are pay attention to where you're looking. Are you looking towards the light? Are you still seeking light? Are there areas in your life, your entire life isn't darkness? There's this piece of your life that has this to it, because I've been fired for more jobs than I can remember as a coach. Like, you're a coach, you're hired to get fired, because just about every coach, even the great ones, get fired. But so don't let that. It's just one piece, and somebody telling you something negative, that's a piece of darkness that doesn't have to envelop your entire being. So that's where that came from, was what do you do when it does get dark? And you have options for yourself. And, I know right now people are struggling with this time, and you have options for yourself, even though it's difficult. Consider getting outside of yourself, consider where you're looking, what you're focusing on. And so that piece, that seems appropriate for today. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no, thank you. A lot of this, when you're talking about being a light, it's especially these days, it's easy to be negative. It's easy to be a pessimist, but being an optimist and having, something down the road to look forward to or a goal to work towards, definitely helps. It's something that I think all of us in this group can relate to, because we've all run a marathon. We've all had a goal. We've all figured out a way to get to the finish line. And it's not much different for what's going on right now. I was talking to my sister the other day, and I was telling her about the plans that we have in the fall for this group and stuff like that. She's like, oh, this really hasn't seemed to affect you that much. You're still making all these plans and doing all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, you know what? We will survive this, and I'm not going to worry about today necessarily, but I'm making plans for what we're going to do when we celebrate, when all this stuff is over and we're all going to get together again and run, and life will be what it used to be. I have no doubt. When I meet you, I'm going to shake your hand and give you a hug, and you know what I mean, and share a beer with you, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. I think part of what I've done too is I speak to people. Everybody talks about raising your ceiling to improve stuff, but I talk about foundational change comes when you raise your basement. And it's easy to go to the basement. It's easy to get negative and become a part of that conversation that is always negative, or to spread that message that is negative about this isn't going to happen and this isn't going to happen, and try to stay away from that. Not that I'm blind to it, but I try to not fall into that. And so I've really worked at structurally raise your basement, people. Find the good, find the look for the positives, and sometimes it's difficult. There are so many people in my life now that their businesses are struggling, and things like that. That I don't rose-colored glasses. I definitely don't wear them. But what can we do to support you? What can you do to support yourself? And raise your basement. Try to stay out of that negative space. It's an energy drain, and it becomes something that can become consuming for you if you allow it to be. And like I said, I'm an optimist. I'm also a realist, and but I also think that as you move yourself up, as you raise that basement, and you raise your ceiling, you give yourself so much space for so many good things to come into your life, and allow things to, we all need a reset. And this has been a reset for me to look at, am I going to continue teaching in this format? What do I want to do? Do I want to focus more on my books and my speaking? And, so it's been a reset on what I can do instead of going, so.
A lot of it comes down to hope.
Yes.
Once you lose hope, that's when you go into dark. That's when people tend to go into dark places. They lose hope. Just hope for a better future. We might be wrong, who knows? But at least hope for the best.
Yeah, I think if people ask me one word to describe my books, that's the message. Or one message is hope. I think I hope that even the difficult writing that I've done and some of the pieces that are hard, that people go, this one made me cry, and I if you look to it, that there would be hope, to stay hope filled. I think that would be the one. That's a constant thread through all of my writing, even when it's difficult. Like I said, I've failed at so many different things, but it's a learning opportunity. It's a growth opportunity. It's so yeah, hope is vital. And if you can be a person or a vessel for that hope, you never know who you're going to help out of that dark place too. And so I think that's really important. And so that's why I try to send that message out on a daily basis, that and trying to be a messenger of hope. I always do that. Whether I always succeed at that, I don't know, because I don't know how people are going to take my writing. I wrote something the other day about a toolbox for this pandemic, and I was worried how it would be received, because there are a lot of people that don't necessarily see eye to eye with me, but people were looking for a message of hope. And so it's been a piece of mine that has been it's blown up on me a little bit, like it's been spread, and I've been really pleased with the response to it. So I just feel like people are looking for that message of hope, and if we can be a small piece of that, then let's be a small piece of that. So Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, I know that I've gotten plenty of messages and things over the years that says, "Who is this Tony Garcia guy? He's helped me out so much."
Thank you.
Do a lot of fans on our page. Is there any particular passage that's like your favorite?
Wow, that's a tough one. Like I said before we came on the air, there are pieces that I really enjoy that seem to mean more to me. There's one piece in Want to Know a Truth, and it the reason it's one of my favorites. Uh, and I could read it if you
Sure,
wouldn't mind. I think I have
sure.
Andy in my man cave here. But, hold on, give me a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah, sure. It's got the
One is
signature Superman shirt on, sweatshirt on, and I like it.
yeah, sometimes I get a little grief about all my Superman. I probably own more Superman attire than grown men should own. But it's a long thing. My mom used to tell me that when I was a kid, the only show I would ever come in to watch was Superman. And she said, commercial come on, I'd leave the room when I was a little boy, and then the music would come on to Superman again, the old black and white Superman.
Yeah.
And she said it was the only show you watched as a little kid. And then it just started out where I started wearing it, and people, again, the symbol behind it is peace. It's not really super. It's the symbol behind it is
Right.
peace.
Right.
But it's just become something that now people send me hoodies and hats. It's so great. Like if there's a Superman thing, I probably own it, from mugs to keychains.
Nice.
People are great. Yeah. So like I said, I don't know.
So everybody can send you something that has the Superman S on it. That's
I would take it. I won't refuse it. So, like I said, I do get comments like, "How many hoodies and how many hats do you own?" And I'm like,
right.
a few. And there may have been a few pandemic purchases for more.
Right.
So I wrote about my. I don't know if you saw the piece, but I wrote about some new jobs, some new skills I've acquired, and one of them is Amazon shopping from midnight.
Right. I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this piece, it's a short piece, and the reason that it sits so well with me, that it's one of my favorites, is how it came to be. So people ask me, Tim and Adam, when I met them, and they helped me to move my first book. They were so great. They were like, "Aren't you afraid you'll run out of things to write about?" And I was like, "Oh, that never crossed my mind. Like, just listen, just look around. You will see
Right.
everything to write about. You can be inspired by." And so a lot of times what I do is, after a workout, I sit in the gym on the stones in the gym, and I just watch people, or I reflect on, and then I get a message, and I know, okay, there's the message. How do you take your reader to that place? So that's usually what happens, is I know the end of the piece I'm going to write. And my job as the writer is, how do you walk the reader to that point? And so that's typically how I write. And most of my writings take about 10 to 15 minutes. I think because of the style of writing, I don't think I've ever had writer's cramp, or mental.
Right.
I don't think I've ever had one of those. Although I will say, during this time where I'm not around people and have that source of inspiration, it's been a little bit more interesting to write, because where's that fuel from?
Mm-hmm.
But this piece, it came to me differently. I woke up and all I could hear was the word yes. And so I was like, okay, that's not a message. That's a word. And I let the day go on, and I just kept waiting for the universe to send me the rest of the message so I could write. And all I got was yes. And I didn't know what to do with that message. And I know people are out there probably going, "This man's crazy," but I don't know. It's how I write. And so then it dawned on me, if you're given only one word. And so that's how this piece, and because that's all I was given was yes, there was no other message. And so this piece was born and how it was formed. So the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. Walt Whitman. So in my book, I try to use another person's quote, and then I try to find a piece of my writing that fits that quote, or I write a piece and then I search for a quote. So this is my piece. If given but one word to speak, with all your might, yes. For in the willingness to try, you shall truly take flight. If only two words be spoken from your truest place, I'm sorry. From the act of forgiving, you shall truly be free. If allowed but three words, allow your heart, I love you. For in the unconditional, you shall truly feel alive. If four words were uttered, find the courage, I will not quit. For in the refusal to surrender, you shall grow ever stronger. With the gift of five words, repeat daily, you are so worth it. For in this simple acceptance, you shall find your value. And as you wake this day, pause before the mirror, then gently speak your verse, so you may always know, yes, I'm sorry, I love you, I will not quit. You are so worth it. So that all came from, I woke up in the morning and there was one word I was given, and it was yes. And that piece evolved, and it's a message that I try to send to people. Man, know your worth, speak your worth, love yourself unconditionally, forgive yourself. And so some people have actually written it on their mirrors and posted it on their mirror, or it's their daily journal. And so that's one of my favorite pieces, just because it was different. It came to me differently, and I like how it evolved, and the message at the end.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a special talent to take the word yes and make that. That's
like I said, usually it's not that difficult for me. Usually I have more to go, and it's just a matter of get the reader there. So yeah. So
I'm getting a lot of comments here from Lori and Fromlack. The only voice that calms me down. I love listening to him talk. Are there any audio versions of your book with your voice?
No, because I can't stand the sound of my own voice. So, people have said that you need to do podcasts, you need to do audio books. Are there audio versions? And, with the full-time job, investing in all the new technologies that you can do, podcasts and all, there's only so much time in a day, even though I don't sleep much in the day, to venture into these things. So once I decide that I'm going to call it a day with my teaching career, then I will invest more energy in things like that, in podcasts, in public speaking. Like right now, I do some public speaking, but on a very limited basis. Just because it's, convincing my boss, hey boss, as great as she is, I need another day off.
Right.
Take enough time off for my races. I miss Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of Boston week from work, and then I miss Fridays and Mondays for other weekend races. And so, so it's not fair to my students for me to be gone all that time. And so it's difficult. And I had a discussion with my brother about how do I move forward and how do I do these things? And he was like, well, you got to give up the day job. And so that's coming soon, but it may be somebody else's voice. Although people have told me they enjoy when I read my own work, because it's a different sound when the author reads it, which is interesting to me. But I'm starting to learn that we all have our own voice and interpretation of what we read, and so I may place an emphasis somewhere else than somebody else places it. But yeah, it's the first time I did a video and put myself out there and read something. Oh, it was just like, I'm going to put it out there and I'm not going to. And so growth, it's uncomfortable, but it's an area of growth for me.
You currently struggle with that.
Yes, exactly. I currently struggle with putting this mug on there and so yes.
I would say if there's a way we can get you to for us to be able to say, hey Alexa, tell us today's daily passage from Toni Garcia, and then have you read today's passage. That would be perfect. Every day, just ask Alexa.
That's an interesting concept right there. So I'm sure that someone could figure out how to do that, but
Right.
maybe with the next effort. So we'll see.
Right. No, the comments here are just amazing. Like everybody is just saying, they are lucky to have you as a teacher. Your students are talking about. We've got other Carol Sexton. Your voice is so calming. My heart rate is dropping. It's like you're a superstar.
So that's just my ears burn when that happens. But thank you. I'm honored and humbled as always. So yeah, it's like I said, it's been interesting to have people respond to my words and things. And I view it, like I said, I wrote a piece recently about how people view me is different, obviously, than I view, because people's perception, they're looking outside in, and I'm always looking out inside out. Yep. And so, like, when it comes to my students, I feel I'm blessed. I have the world's greatest job. I love what I do on a daily basis. And so my kids, my students inspire me. I take inspiration from them. And I learn as much, if not more, than I teach. Mm-hmm. And so I view it differently. Like I said, I view myself as being lucky to have had this career for, this is the close of my 29th year as a teacher. And I couldn't have been called to a better line of work where you wake up every day and love what you do and get to help put a little fingerprint, a little thumbprint on the next generation. And it's, like I said, it's an honor and it's a privilege, and it's something I feel a heartfelt responsibility to my kids, especially during this time, which has been different and difficult, teaching remotely. But yeah. Like I said, I'm the one who's blessed. So that's,
yeah, my wife is she's a second grade teacher. She's home now with the baby, but yeah, she was a second grade teacher, and should hopefully get back into it soon once the little one's old enough to get to school. But she's the same way. She tries to have a connection with all of her students. She has, like, our Christmas tree has stuff that she's gotten from prior students and things like that. It's a very different career, because you don't get the respect that you deserve. I think a lot of parents are finding out how hard it is to be a teacher these days. Yeah. And it's a lot of extra work that people don't see. Like I would, with her, a lot of off hours time is spent looking at papers or always continuing education, and there's always something going on that the teachers have to do outside of work that the parents don't get to see. And it's a really, people that do it, they're obviously not in it for the money. They're doing it because they enjoy what they do, and they enjoy being able to touch people's lives.
Yeah, just a tip of the cap to elementary school teachers, because your job alone before this whole thing in remote learning, I thought was difficult, like herding cats, teaching the littlest of ones, so difficult, but my hat's off. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, I just think that I hopefully during this time people are understanding what it is to be a teacher a little bit better, having to help their kids at home a little bit more. But like I said, it's a labor of love. If you're doing it right, and you're in it for the right reason, it is about the kids, and there's nothing more gratifying than a kid I had years ago sending me a letter or a graduation announcement or something like that, because you had an idea, you think of what they might become, but you never really know. I recently got a letter from a young man who's working on the Mars mission.
Wow.
I know. And he was just like, thank you for you helping me as a 6th grade science student. And I was just like, oh my God, this kid, he was amazing back then, but to see where he's gone and the trajectory of his life it's just he would reach out to his 6th grade science teacher to say thank you. It's humbling beyond belief. And it's makes you, realize every day you show up, you have a chance to send a kid down a path. Which, how are you going to do that? How are you going to influence this young life? And hopefully for the good, and hopefully in a way where the lessons, they might not get it in the moment that you're trying to teach them, but
Right.
somewhere down the road, they get the lesson that you try to put out there for them. So
Right. That's like getting your medal at a marathon, like when a student comes back and writes you that letter,
yeah, there's, you can't put a price tag on that letter or that medal. You're definitely right. It makes all the extra nights, the hard work, it makes it all worth it. Just when one kid will do that, it'll keep you, it's fuel. It's fuel for the fire. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what's next for you? You have a new book coming out soon, right? It's at the publisher. What's the title?
Yeah. So it takes the three pieces of my first two books in that first one I was telling you about, Want to Know a Secret, and it's Secrets, Truths, and Whispers.
Mm-hmm.
The evolution of my writing. And so Secrets, Truths, and Whispers, Lessons from a Good Hard Life. And so it's divided up into 4 different sections. It's still a daily read. You don't have to read it all at once. In fact, I tried to read my book all at once and I got tired of my own voice. Put it down. So
it's a big book.
it's a hefty book. When people first get it, they're like, Tony, that's a book. And I'm like, I know. It was supposed to be, when I wrote it, it's a 365-page document, one for each day of the year. But when they published it, they would go on to a second page. And so it turned out to be this 500 some odd page book. Right. It's just like, oh my stars. So the book is divided up into 4 sections: Secrets, Truths, Whispers, and Lessons. It contains some more about running. I didn't want my book to be viewed simply as a runner's book.
Yep.
A lot of people, when they read something, I'll start it out as running and go, hey, lessons from a good hard run. And then I finish lessons from a good hard life, because I'm not really talking about running. Running's the best metaphor I can use, because it's something that's so important in my life. But it's all about living and it's all about life. But I use running as the primary metaphor. And so it's funny when people comment, oh, this applies to life. And I'm like, it does. So that book, that book hopefully will be out soon. And then, looking forward to summer. Summer is a time to log off the computer with remote learning. I've been on a screen way too much. And so just log off and hopefully get outside and, the parks open up and get to go hiking with my daughter and get back to the gym. I've missed being in the gym with my son on a daily basis. So I'm hoping that that'll start to come. And I'd like to do what I do in the summer, road trip to see my family. And I haven't seen mom now in a while, and she's a big part of my life. And so I'm hoping that those things are next. Is just a little unplug, a little relax and unwind, and continue to train and prepare for whatever comes in the fall. Because week 4 has started and I got a lot of work to do. So.
Well, hopefully Philly's on your list there. We'll see. Hopefully Philly's, on the list of marathons potentially you could come out. We'd love to have you. I know the race organizers are trying to have you be a speaker, which would be wonderful. We'd love to have you. Philly's a great town, great city, and join the Boston Buddies. There's gonna be a lot of us here this year if the race goes off. So we'd love to see you and meet you in person.
Yeah, I have a full fall calendar. Obviously, as a lot of people do, as things were mashed up. Thanks to your invite and a couple other folks that reached out to me about Philly and maybe the possibility to speak. I definitely am on it. I've only been to that city one time before, and it was a great little visit. So like I said, if this old body can recover from the marathon already previously planned out, we'll see. I like a challenge. I've been trying to level up and push myself a little bit. So I think it would be great to see you guys all out there and give a new race a chance. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate your time today. This was a great session. We barely even talked about running.
Sorry.
No, this is great. Maybe we'll have to have you back on again. When the book comes out, we should have you back on and do a little. You could do some passages for us from the new book. That would be great. But yeah, I appreciate everything, and thank you again. You did a fundraiser for the Second Step back in December. You raised a lot of money for the Second Step. That was awesome. And continue to inspire. Please continue to give us that hope that everybody needs today. And we love your writings. We love hearing from you. And we just hope that we hear from you soon and see you soon as well.
Well, like I said, thank you. You've had some legends and some champions, and the frontline workers that you did the interviews with, and I'm humbled and honored to get this opportunity to speak to you. And thank you. Like I said, thank you for everything you've done for me. It was an honor to get to help out the Second Step, and people responded really well to that. So, like I said, I'm grateful that you allowed me to share my book in this group. I try not to put that out there. I don't want people to think I have an agenda for being in any group that I'm in. If they like my words, they like my words. And so, like I said, that was just a bonus. And I'm glad I could help. I've used my book to help out a couple of different charities, and the Second Step was one that was definitely on the list. And so I was honored to have the chance to do that. And anytime I can use my blessings to help somebody else, I like to do that. So thank you for that opportunity. And thank you again for this opportunity today. And thanks to everybody or anybody that might have tuned into this. So, and if Jordan, if you tuned in, thank you. I'm not worthy, but.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time again, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
It's a deal. Thanks. Bye, Vince.